We'd forgotten that these people, these combatants we call Yugoslavs, were first and foremost Serbs, Slovenes, Croats or Montenegrins, Christians or Muslim, Catholic or Orthodox. We'd forgotten that it was here that the First World War erupted. We'd forgotten that the name of Yugoslavia had served to obscure those of 6 republics: Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Serbia with its 2 autonomous regions called Vojvodina and Kosovo, and then Montenegro and Macedonia. Prior to 1914, Serbia and Montenegro formed a single kingdom that was allied to Tsarist Russia. Slovenia and Croatia were part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, whose annexation of Bosnia-Herzegovina led to the assassination at Sarajevo of the Austrian Archduke by a Serb, and hence to the First World War. The post-war settlement at Saint-Germain near Paris determined the frontiers of the Kingdom of the Serbs, Croats and Slovenes, southern Slavs placed under the rule of the King of Serbia, Alexander I, who also ruled over Montenegro, Vojvodina and Kosovo. Already within this first Yugoslavia, there were Serbs who dreamed of a greater Serbia ruled from Belgrade, and Croats who dreamed of federation and autonomy. Already the first schism. Croat deputies in parliament railed against the excesses of Serb centralism. In 1928, here, a Serb deputy killed 2 deputies of the Croat Peasants' Party and their leader, Radic. The funeral saw the appearance of the flags and emblems of Croatian nationalism. The Croat deputies walked out of parliament, and soon afterwards the seeds of terrorism were sown with the formation of the Ustašis, the Croatian nationalists rebelling against royal and Serbian dictatorship. (1934). The 9th of October. Marseille. Alexander I, smiling and unguarded, has only a few minutes left to live. He dies at the hand of an assassin, shot down by an Ustaši. The king's body is returned to Belgrade by train. His son Peter is still too young. And so his cousin Paul, another Serb, is appointed regent and travels to Berlin in this capacity. In the Nazi capital, shy and ill at ease, Paul has the air of a country cousin seeking the assurance of his powerful protector, Adolf Hitler, supremely confident in the exercise of his power and in the sway of his charm. He receives his assurances, but 3 years later he is overthrown in a coup and replaced by Pierre, the legitimate heir of the throne who is a friend of the British. Hitler doesn't hang about. He calls a meeting of his allies. Soon after, in a train somewhere on the border, he and Boris III, Tsar of Bulgaria, Jarno, Mussolini's son-in-law and foreign minister, and Admiral Horthy, the Hungarian regent, carve up the kingdom of Yugoslavia among themselves. Slovenia is occupied by the Germans and Italians. Serbia goes to the Germans, Kosovo to the Italians, and Vojvodina is shared between the Hungarians and Germans. Macedonia is handed to Bulgaria. Montenegro is placed under puppet administration, and Croatia, which absorbs Bosnia-Herzegovina, is at last granted its autonomy. April 1941, with Germany and its Italian allies occupying Slovenia and Greater Serbia, sees the return of Ante Pavelić to Zagreb. Pavelić, Croatian nationalist and friend of Mussolini, has spent the past 10 years heading and organizing Ustashi terrorism. On his return, he enters the parliament in Zagreb and proclaims Croatia an independent, sovereign state allied to the Third Reich. Greater Croatia. Now, in the Serb-inhabited regions of Knin and Vukovar, the Ustashi army arrests, kills or deports large number of Jews, Gypsies, and above all, Serbs. The only hope of escaping death or deportation, women and children included, lay in renouncing their religion and accepting baptism. As many as 700,000 people may have died. Not all Croats were Ustashis, but the memory of this genocide will long haunt the Serbs of Yugoslavia. Serb officers and patriots organized the resistance in Croatia. Seeking refuge in the mountains, sheltered by the populations under their protection, the Chetniks fight fire with fire, atrocity with atrocity. Each side in turn visits sudden, violent death on the other. The Chetniks are not just anti-Croat, but also anti-communist. The partisans, too, are their enemies. As elsewhere, the Yugoslav partisans are a loose alliance of communists, nationalists, unaligned resistance and anti-fascist, forming a huge, powerful army hidden in the mountains. Their leader, Josip Broz, known as Tito, is General Secretary of the Communist Party and has spent the past 20 years in clandestinity. Of working-class origin and part Croat, part Slovene, Tito has formed a National Liberation Council with representatives from every region. His ambition, once the war is over, is to create a federal state that will place Yugoslavia's disparate peoples on an equal footing and allow them to maintain their individual identities. War comes to an end. King Peter abdicates. Tito's vision prevails, and on November 29, 1945, he becomes the first president of the Republic of Yugoslavia. The state slogan is Brotherhood, Unity. Reconstruction begins. The settling of accounts too. Fascists and collaborators pay with their lives, most of them summarily shot. 100,000 Ustashis are executed, but Chetniks die too. Brotherhood and unity in communism is the order of the day. Serbs, Slovenes and Croats fade into the background. Communists come first, 23 of them in a government of 28 ministers. In 1948, Tito, the only Eastern Bloc leader who owes none of his power to Moscow, breaks with Stalin. A propaganda film shows the leader making his crucial decision. The man of Providence.
We have shed a sea of blood for the fraternity and unity of our peoples. We shall not allow anyone to harm this fraternity and this unity, or to try and destroy them from the inside. If we are unable to remain together, each of our republics will count for nothing. In the future, we must create our own history, the history of a socialist and united Yugoslavia.
Written off by Stalin, and despite a later rapprochement with Khrushchev, Tito opts for a third way, which he propagates through the non-aligned movement. His greatest innovation, and one which appealed strongly to Western socialists, was workers' self-management. The years passed, but neither Tito's personality nor the veneer of communism, not even trial and imprisonment of its leader, was able to stem the nationalist advance. In 1974, under popular pressure, Tito amended the constitution to give greater autonomy to local leaders. In 1980, Tito died at Ljubljana. Like that of his former adversary Alexander I, Tito's body travelled by train to Belgrade, crowds thronged by the side of the track to see him pass. Indira Gandhi, Leonid Brezhnev, Margaret Thatcher, Nicolae Ceausescu, Pertini, Brandt, whose emotion is unfined. Behind them, a huge crowd is also riven with emotion. They know that the dream is ending and they must wake to economic crisis, to sectorial disputes and ethnic revelry. Tito left behind him a country of great complexity, a mosaic of peoples scattered among 6 republics. Each republic had its own local government with the president, and the 6 presidents formed a collective federal presidency, each president in turn serving as head of the Yugoslav state for a year. Among the republics there were significant differences and inequalities. Slovenia was well off and relatively homogeneous, with the population 90% Slovene. Serbia comprised 66% Serbs, 20% Albanians, and the northern province of Vojvodina, 56% Serbs, 22% Hungarians, and 7% Croats. Kosovo, the autonomous province in the south, home to 85% of Albanians and only 10% of Serbs. Kosovo was nevertheless the Serbs' ancestral homeland. Macedonia, 67% Macedonian, 20% Albanian. Montenegro, 70% Montenegrin, 6% Albanian and 13% non-Albanian Muslim. Bosnia-Herzegovina was a particularly even spread, with 33% Serbs, 40% Muslims and 20% Croats. In Croatia, the Catholic Croats form a clear majority with 75%, with a 12% minority of Serbs. It was here, in Kosovo, only a few months after the death of Tito, that the first disturbances arose. On April 1, 1981, a Serbian Orthodox church was set on fire, sparking a wave of demonstrations and riots. The Albanians want a republic status and protest against high unemployment. More than half of the population is age under 20, and half of the working age population is out of work. The clampdown kills a dozen people. Franjo Tudjman, aged 58 at the death of Tito, a Croat and wartime companion of Tito, who rose him to the rank of general, twice trialed and imprisoned for his nationalist convictions, leader of one of Croatia's nationalist parties. Slobodan Milosevic, 40 at the time of Tito's death, a Serb, rose through the ranks of the Serbian Communist Party. Milan Kucan, a Slovene who also owes his position to his party career. These three will each play a major role in the Yugoslav crisis. In Slovenia, by the mid-80s, the party youth publication Mladina had become a stronghold of pacifist, anti-communist and ecologist writers formulating progressive ideas at variance with the ossified conventions of communist society. Their views rapidly reach out to the rest of society, and their influence is widely felt. 4 journalists are arrested and accused of betraying military secrets. In May 1987, Milosevic attends a meeting in Kosovo with Azem Vlasi, the ethnic Albanian local Communist Party chief. For the past 6 months, the Albanian population have been demonstrating for republican status. Disturbances and rumors of violence have fueled panic and fight among the Serb minority. Milosevic, president of the Serbian Communist Party, has mounted a campaign against the party's old-style leaders and their bureaucratic procedures. He pledges to solve the problems of the Serbs in Kosovo in 2 months. Here, he is welcomed by his Serbian supporters.
Comrades, I shook your hand. They didn't even give me an invitation. Please, let me tell you everything. They pushed us around, hit us, beat women and children. Some of them got in among us, they threw stones. We were beaten up, Comrade President. I suggest you keep your own order. You don't have to call in the police. I have to tell you, President. President, I just want to tell you. We respect you because you're the President. We all agreed we had to meet you today. You said so yourself. And as President, how can you allow them to club the people down? You, please let me speak. Let me speak. Just let me tell you this. We do not set things alight. We don't break things. We don't do anything. We're waiting for you to tell us what to do.
The Serbs once again claim that the Albanians have been committing rapes, desecrating Orthodox cemeteries, sabotaging crops. Rumors? Fact? No one knows for sure. But feelings are running high among the Serbs of Kosovo. Incidents and demonstrations continue in the following month here in Kosovo, but spreading also to Vojvodina, where local leaders demand greater autonomy and accuse Milosevic of acting like an imperialist. Milosevic supporters take to the streets.
We want to press on to Novi Sad to see what our comrade officials say. Will we have a united Yugoslavia or not? Will we tear it up or not? We're going to Novi Sad to talk it over with them.
Milosevic has supporters in Vojvodina and also in Montenegro, where they take up his slogans and ask for the local leaders' resignation.
I'm here carrying this portrait to show you all clearly. We workers, we don't hide behind walls and windows like some of our comrades. They tell us to wait. Wait for what? We've waited years. We've been waiting for peace in Kosovo since 1981. If they're deaf and they don't want to hear, we'll wait till they resign. There's going to be a meeting of the local council presidency this evening. I'm not a crook. I'm not a traitor. And I've done what I thought best, but I'm still going to resign. You won't have to wait any more for these resignations.
Here, as elsewhere in Eastern Europe, the winds of change are already blowing. Popular pressure sweeps away many of the local leaders. In Belgrade, a plenum of the party Central Committee opens amid growing tension. Milosevic is arguing that Kosovo and Vojvodina must be placed under central Serbian administration. But his populist methods are giving rise to objections. Asem Flasi, Albanian communist leader.
We know the motives of these organizers and manipulators. These are Serb nationalist manipulations, and we know what effects they'll have. They are not aimed at achieving union, and they are objectively harmful.
Pressure from Serb demonstrators leads to the replacement of local leaders, while at the federal party level, Milosevic gains an advantage by means of manipulating a vote. Here, one of Tito's old companions, Vinko Hafner, a Slovene, addresses Milosevic.
Comrade Slobodan, what you have suggested, please think hard. Think hard about the direction you are taking. You may achieve an apparent unity in the Serbian Communist League by condemning such a decision. You may well do so. You have the necessary support, personal too, but the consequences of such an action could be negative in the long run. Not just for this forum, but also for the Yugoslav Communist League, for you, our Serbian comrades, and for you yourself, Comrade Slobodan.
On November 88, 1 million demonstrators turned out in Belgrade for a huge meeting. This was the high point of a series of Serbian demonstrations seeking stronger Serbian control over the Albanians.
We shall win, even if now, as in other times, Serbia's external enemies are uniting against it with its internal enemies. We say we are in no way afraid. We shall enter every battle with the determination to win.
Milosevic, now 47, appears to be the strong man that Yugoslavia has lacked since the death of Tito. In Kosovo, within hours and despite the cold and the snow, the Albanians are stung to demonstrate.
The greatest support that we could have is that you should remain united, fraternal, in all your nationalities. For us, it is important to see this unity among the youth and the intelligentsia.
Albanian leader Azem Vlasi is expelled from the Communist Party and arrested soon afterwards. In February '89, also in Kosovo, 1,300 miners stage in a sit-in at the coalface, 3,000 feet below the surface, demanding the resignation of the political leaders, who they say are selling out the cause of the Albanians.
What we want is the resignation of the president of the Kosovo Communist Party, Rahman Morina, because working people don't trust him anymore. He won't live among us, just like now up there on the surface. He promised, and he didn't keep his promise. We didn't choose him. I don't know who did. It was probably Milosevic who chose him. What if they try to get you out by force? In that case, they'll get us out dead. Until the comrades hand in their resignations, all 1,500 of us are going to stay on here and die if we have to. Today is the fourth day we've been down here. We haven't had any contact with our families. We don't know what they're doing, and they don't know what's happening to us.
Up on the surface, the families are getting worried.
I haven't seen my husband for 7 days, nor have the children. He's left us without a thing, no wood, no flour, no salt. I have to borrow from the neighbors. He hasn't left me a thing. Tomorrow the kids have to go to school and we don't have any money. I'm on my own with the children. What can I do? We don't have a radio or television. I've no idea what's going on. I don't know whether my husband's alive or dead.
More than 600 miners suffer physical and psychological traumas and have to be given treatment in makeshift dispensaries set up at the coalface. 30 of them are in serious condition and have to be taken to hospital. No quarter is given or asked. Finally, after 8 days, they emerge blinking to the surface, ill and deceived. Promises were made, the promises were broken. Meanwhile, in Slovenia, public opinion is hardening around the case of the Mladina journalist facing trial for publishing military secrets. Demonstrations are organized, each serving to spread democratic, pro-independent, dissenting views. Support is expressed for the cause of the Albanians in Kosovo. Milan Kucan has become president of the Slovenian Communist Party.
We didn't create Yugoslavia because of a common history or an ethnic closeness. These things today would be integrating factors. It was because of a promise of a better life lived in common. If this promise no longer exists, there is no force that can ensure Yugoslav integrity. Not the party, not our common history, not the common elements in our culture, nor the ethnic affinities, not the army, not the police.
The Serbs see Slovenia's support for the Albanians of Kosovo as a betrayal.
What we have seen is the betrayal of Yugoslavia. This high treason has been going on a long time, and we have to put an end to it. This meeting is not against the Slovenes, nor against the Croats, but against the leaders who deserve it. They should be ashamed of what they told Yugoslav public opinion yesterday in Slovenia. We've had enough of this talk, these motions. We've had enough conferences. We know how to deal with enemies, the mafia and those traitors.
Milosevic that same evening at Belgrade.
Comrades,
fraternity and unity go out of the window. It's always the others who are nationalist.
comrades, there is no price and no force that can hold the Serbian leadership and citizens from their legitimate struggle. I can't hear well, but I want to meet your demands. Soon, all the names will be published. And I can tell you that all those who have manipulated people to achieve their anti-Yugoslav goals will be arrested and will be punished.
In Kosovo, a state of emergency is declared. Occupying forces carry out arrests and repression. And manipulation. Observe this scene closely in the Kosovo Parliament on March 23, 1989. Parliament is to vote on the Milosevic proposals, the revision of the constitution, and the strengthening of Serbian control. 167 votes for, and 10 against. Just 10, and these appear surprised, as if they don't understand what's going on, with good reason. Several deputies received threats and did not turn up, while others who were not deputies at all, such as this one here, voted in their place. This man is called Argeti. He's the brother of a leader favorable to the central control. This parliamentary sleight of hand causes a public outcry. Special troops and Federal Army forces are called in. This man, a soldier, refuses to obey.
Democracy, democracy. Democracy for all Yugoslavia. I'm telling you, when you fire, aim for the body.
Slovenian television broadcasts sequences against the repression in Kosovo. Four months later, Milosevic is elected president of the Republic of Serbia despite the opposition of Serbia's new democratic parties. Serbia then sets up an economic embargo against Slovenia. In protest, on January the 20th, 1990, at the 14th Congress of the Federal Communist Party, the Slovenian delegation walks out of the hall. This act, though it achieves its effect differently from the other countries of Eastern Europe, marks the end of Communist Party unity. This is the way, here as you see it, that the Yugoslav Communist Party dies. A few days later, the Slovenian government withdraws its police units from Kosovo. In Belgrade during the night of January the 31st, the federal presidency holds an emergency meeting. 4 of the 6 republics vote against a military intervention in Kosovo. Serbia is supported only by Montenegro. In Kosovo, on March 22nd, there is a strange case of poisoning. More than 400 Albanian school children complain of nausea and breathing problems. They are rushed to hospitals. Panic spreads as humor abound and spreads across the province. But the Serbian doctors find nothing amiss and declare most strange this collective poisoning that just happens to break out in those towns where Albanian nationalism is strongest. April 90. Slovenia, rising from a deep sleep, awakes to democracy. Slovenians set out to vote freely for the first time and find they have a choice of parties. Franz Buchar, candidate of the center-right opposition party, he becomes parliamentary speaker. His political ally Peterli becomes prime minister, a man of the right. And a communist, Milan Kucan, becomes president of the Republic of Slovenia. National reconciliation is the order of the day. The Milosevic plan for a more centralized Yugoslav state is rejected. Kucan's winning design for Slovenia is for a confederal system opening onto Europe.
The slogan, Europe now, Europe tomorrow, was chosen to recruit all efforts to reform all aspects of national life. It can be summed up in a phrase: social, economic and political reform. Yugoslavia too needs these reforms. If Yugoslavia is prepared to follow the same path, there's no reason why Slovenia should enter Europe without Yugoslavia. If, on the other hand, Yugoslavia is not prepared to take this course, Slovenia will have to look into ways of entering Europe on her own.
In Croatia, meanwhile, the key words of sovereignty, independence and confederation have also come into their own in that republic's first 3 elections. Franjo Tuđman, Tito's former general, twice sentenced for nationalism, revives the old dream of a Croatian state.
The advocates of all the unitarist, statist, pro-Yugoslav designs see nothing in our program but a claim for the restoration of the independent Croat Ustashi state. These people fail to see that state was not merely a structure to facilitate collaboration with fascist criminals. It also stood for the historic aspirations of the Croat people for an independent state and a growing awareness of international factors, in particular the fact that Hitlerian Germany was building a new European order on the ruins of the Order of Versailles.
April 22nd, election night. 45 years of communist rule are brought to an end by Croat nationalism. Franjo Tuđman is elected president of the Republic of Croatia. And Stipe Mesić, jurist and deputy, like Tuđman imprisoned for nationalism, becomes prime minister with the task of drawing up the constitution of a sovereign Croat state.
Since the meeting of the Serbian Communist Party and following Milosevic's speech in Kosovo, Serbia has adopted a policy that aims to dismantle the Yugoslav Federation and install Serbian domination. Simultaneously, they accuse others of destroying Yugoslavia. We have had a federal model which has satisfied no one. Now we are proposing a confederal model resembling that of the European community. If the nations and the states of Europe are satisfied with this model and see it as a means of progress, there is no reason why we should not adopt this model and with it enter the European community.
May the 13th, 1990. The Zagreb-Belgrade football match between Croats and Serbs is marked by violent fighting. Events have been speeding up. Slovenia is preparing for independence. In Serbia, the democratic opposition is fighting for free elections. Milosevic is now talking about changing the frontiers. The Serbian parliament dissolves the parliament of Kosovo. The federal presidency is powerless. In Croatia, in the region of Knin, tension among the mainly Serb population mounts. Roads and access routes are cut off. The Serbs of Croatia dread a return of the Ustashi horrors. But election fever catches, and here too the vote is for autonomy, for an independent Serb enclave within Croatia.
We must have autonomy because Mr. Tudjman has set up an Ustashi government. They're all Ustashis, the people around him, in the parliament, everywhere. We can't have that, otherwise it'll be like it was before. You see this stone? That's my father. He's buried there. Do you want the same thing to happen to me, to my children, and all my friends here? We won't have that, and we'll fight to prove it. They're telling us we've come from Kosovo. They're talking about Kosovo. But look what Serbia is giving in Kosovo. Every right. And the people here, they don't give us anything. They criticize Slobodan Milosevic and the intelligent people who are following a moderate, sensible policy. They attack the Federal People's Army that we'd sign on for tomorrow, tonight, right now, if we had to. We'll put on that kepi with the red star and we'll fight for our rights.
The mood of paranoia spreads to the parliament at Zagreb. A representative of the Serb minority is speaking.
The Serb people of Croatia is respectable. It is an honest people, hard-working, spendthrift, a people which has never accepted oppression. Thank you. It is an intelligent people which rose to defend its human dignity, its children, its citizens' rights. These are people who will never go along with the Ustashi-type regime that is being set up. They'll... May I remind you that you have no... Please. That you have no right to insult the Croatian government. You're entitled to speak, you are not entitled to insult. Calling the government Ustashi-type regime is offensive. I will have to cut you off there.
The parliamentary speaker intervenes and tries to calm down the Croat deputies.
Please, gentlemen, allow Mr. Tanjay to speak, and if he insults the Croatian government and parliament, I will cut him short. Please continue.
Pošto su prethodnici, pošto ispričaj se.
It must be said that the ghosts of the past are looming dangerously. Arms are being supplied from official storehouses to Serb civilians with the tacit approval of the Federal Army. Militias are being formed, Serb and Croat. The Croatian and Slovenian governments reject the legitimacy of the Federal Army and strengthen their police and civil defense forces while preparing to establish their own armed force. On January the 25th, 1991, Belgrade television broadcast this film prepared by military intelligence, which accuses the Croatian of importing arms to organize an armed insurrection. We hear the Croatian defense minister in what is allegedly a conversation he'd had 3 months earlier.
At the appropriate moment, you set up 2 or 3 people to eliminate those who are the most dangerous. Right. To eliminate them physically. You go into the courier apartment. Right. I know that. He comes to the door, and blam. Yes, and then you take the stairs. They'll be calling the police to get whoever did it. You take the stairs and go on to the second. Those who are the most dangerous, you kill them right there at the door. Doesn't matter if it's a woman or a kid or whatever. No questions, just do it. No, no one saw anything. They crossed like this. Since on our side of the frontier there was a line, this minister that no one knew went up with the diplomatic passports. He showed them. They raised the barrier and we slipped through. No one saw us apart from the ambassador, customs official. So no one saw anything, not even the passports.
A concealed camera showed the general talking to 2 men said to be arms traffickers. General Spiegel was called before a military tribunal in Belgrade. But the Croatian government dismissed all accusations and called it a provocation. The United States and Hungary, accused of providing arms, issued denials.
We're strong enough to organize and resist. The Yugoslav People's Army must continue to obey the presidency. The army is the only force for cohesion which at the present time is capable of carrying out its constitutional obligations. That is what it must do.
The Federal Army sends in tanks to Knin to restore law and order. At the same time, the Federal Presidency calls on the militias to disarm. In Zagreb, Tudjman speaks of a plot aimed at causing chaos and overthrowing democracy.
The events that have taken place today in these communes do not surprise us. We were aware of this scenario being prepared to cause turmoil in Croatia, a storm aimed at overthrowing democratic power in Croatia, and subsequently in Slovenia.
In Belgrade, on Republic Square, Draskovic, the Serb opposition nationalist leader, demands access to television and the resignation of the current leaders. He accuses them of dragging Serbia into civil war. Young people are there in force to express their discontent and their anger at 10 years of economic crisis. The demonstration rapidly degenerates. By nightfall, the tanks have taken over Belgrade. Draskovic is arrested. He is released 5 days later. Under pressure from demonstrators, the television management resigns. Borislav Jovic, the Serbian federal president close to Milosevic, fails to impose a state of emergency.
I must inform public opinion that I cannot be associated with decisions that are helping to break up the country and will have catastrophic consequences for our citizens. That is why I am presenting my resignation, believing this is to be more honest and in accordance with my conscience.
It is the turn of Croatia's message to succeed Jovic. The Serbians and their allies oppose his succession. The federal state is deadlocked. At the end of March, the presidents of the six republics begin a series of meetings to try to resolve the crisis. In vain. Meanwhile, in Croatia, one incident follows another at Plitvice, Vukovar, Split. As the Slovenes did 6 months earlier, the Croats vote 95% in favor of independence. In Slovenia, there are the first clashes between Federal Army and Slovene units. At Maribor, the inhabitants encircle the barracks and prevent the Federal Army tanks from leaving. Somewhere along a road near to the Slovenian border, a young couple has recognized federal troops hidden in an ambulance who are trying to break the blockade.
We're going for our people. Sure, sure. But there aren't any of your people there. Your people have all gone, and I suggest you do the same. Reverse some way and you can do a U-turn on the bridge over there.
This is Slovenia, and no one is getting through. Elsewhere in Slovenia, an unarmed crowd brings an armored vehicle to a halt. You see that man who is attempting to climb onto the armored vehicle. He will be the first victim of the coming war. June 25th, 1991, Zagreb, the Croatian parliament. All the deputies are ringed round Franjo Tudjman and Stipe Mesic. They are celebrating Croatian independence. The power of the past has overcome the threats of the Serbians and the appeals of the European community and the United States. June 26, 1991, Ljubljana. Milan Kucan inaugurates the celebrations of Slovenia's independence.
We have never used force against anyone. We refuse all forms of violence in relations between men, nations, and states. Our goals are the following: democracy, liberty, respect for human dignity and human rights, respect for minorities and immigrants, openness and cooperation with others. These are the values to which we shall always subscribe. Force is what others use when they have no arguments or discernment. If their wish that we should remain together is sincere, they could not find a less appropriate means than the force of arms. Tonight we may allow ourselves to dream. Tomorrow's another day.
A few hours later, the Federal Army enters Slovenia and the war has begun.